The Game, directed by David Fincher and starring Michael Douglas, is one of the most underrated and overlooked psychological thrillers ever put to film. I've stated time and time again that David Fincher is the godfather of these psychological thrillers, and The Game is no exception. This movie is fantastic. You have an electric and just captivating performance by Michael Douglas. Probably one of the best Michael Douglas performances up to this point in the year 1997. He just commands the screen. Every time the man is on screen in this movie, you can't take your eyes off him. His acting is just so subtle. It's just so rich. What he can do with facial expressions and just minor changes in his body posture is fantastic. And seeing his character evolution throughout the course of the film is even better. We see the character of Nicholas Van Orton as this uptight, wealthy man who was very reserved and closed off. And as the movie progresses, we see him pretty much in a fight for his life. This company called CRS, which is known for creating these elaborate practical jokes, is given to him as a present in gift card form through his brother Conrad, played by Sean Penn. At first, everything seems harmless. It seems off, but harmless. But as the film progresses, where do you draw the line between a practical joke and a fight for your life? Because there are many instances in this movie where Nicholas Van Orton is pretty much on the brink or close to death. And now the movie starts to question its audience. Is this all a prank? Or is there something more sinister afoot going on right now? And I love how the movie keeps that Hitchcockian level of suspense all the way up to the climax. And David Fincher, as I said before, he's just a marvel, a master at maintaining that intense atmosphere. And not just this movie, but in every single movie he does. He just maintains an intense atmosphere, and it's even more prevalent in this movie. There's not enough good things to say about David Fincher. He's just a fantastic director. And the cinematography in this movie is beautiful as well. You know, it's a very intense atmosphere. It's a dark and grounded atmosphere. And again, throughout the entire movie, we see Michael Douglas' character get put through the ringer. And the entire time, Douglas puts on a sensational performance. The supporting cast in this movie are all well done. Sean Penn, as I said, he's in this movie, plays the brother Conrad Van Orton. I like Sean Penn in this movie. One of my many gripes with this movie is that this movie could have used a little bit more Sean Penn. We see him in the beginning, we see him in the middle, and we see him in the end, but he's more or less sprinkled throughout the movie. How I would have done it is that once Sean Penn's character, Conrad, came back in the second act, I would have had him team up with Nick. I would have had him team up with his brother pretty much throughout the course of the second act, going into the third act. And then I have him disappear once Michael Douglas wakes up in a coffin in Mexico. Because when the movie starts, it's pretty obvious that there's a strained relationship between Nicholas and Conrad, and that goes back to Nicholas's childhood when he saw his father commit suicide on his birthday, which made him a very closed off and reserved person. And of course, he has a very distant relationship with his brother Conrad. No, there is a love there, but there's a lot of resentment there, especially on Conrad's side. And I think the second act would have benefited more by having those two brothers team up together, because I think it would have strengthened their bond much more, because it's revealed in the second act that CRS is also after Conrad, because Conrad was a member of the London branch, but now they're after him. I think that we would have benefited if the two brothers teamed up together to try and take down this company. And again, as they're teaming up in the second act, their bond starts to strengthen more, and they start to get more closer together as brothers. We didn't get that in this movie, and I think the movie sorely lacks from something like that. And I think it would have made the entire second act would have flowed so much better to me, and it would have had more emotional impact to me, especially when we get to the ending of this movie, which I'm not gonna go into too much detail with because I really don't want to spoil it. But when you watch the movie and you see the ending that was shot on film, if the characters of Conrad and Nicholas had a more tighter bond going into the second act, into the third act, and we get the ending that we saw, but we just changed the ending a little bit from what you saw, I think it would have made I think it would have made the movie much more better, and I think a more tragic ending would have benefited it, would have benefited this movie much more than the kind of sort of I'm not gonna say happy ending, but more satisfying ending for Nicholas Van Orton. That's just me. Those are my two biggest gripes with this movie is the Conrad character kind of being a little underused, and the ending, which is not a horrible ending, but could have been done so much more differently if you would have beefed up the brother relationship between Conrad and Nicholas. But you have other side characters too that do a pretty good job. You know, the character of Christine, who teams up with Michael Douglas through parts of the movie. She's portrayed pretty well. It's revealed that she's actually a member of CRS. The character played by James Rebhorn, he's actually really, really funny when you first see him, and then when you see him near the end of the movie, he comes back. It's revealed that he's not who he says he was, and it's something that he's someone else entirely. And that's where the pieces start to really fall into place as we build up to that climax. And I think, like I said, I think the domino effect works pretty well for what it is. Again, I would have done things a little bit more differently. But that's just me. This movie does have some extra side plots to it, and they're okay. You know, they don't really add a whole lot to the actual movie itself. It's just there as filler. You know, you got this one side plot where Michael Douglas's character is trying to get some other guy to pretty much retire from his business, pretty much trying to buy him out, and doesn't really add anything to the overall movie itself. I do like this little side plot he has with his ex-wife, and how he does have love and regret towards his ex-wife. So I like all that. I do like that stuff, especially when Michael Douglas's character thinks that he's close to death. In one scene when they're having breakfast, and he tells his ex-wife that he regrets the fact that he closed her off and understands why she left him. I like all that stuff. I do like the pranks that CRS starts to pull, or the sinister pranks that start to pull. I like how they vandalize his home. You know, the cab scene is probably the most suspenseful and edge of your seat scene in the entire movie, to me at least. I thought it was great. I also like when Michael Douglas goes to Christine's house and they start getting shot at by CRS. I thought that chase was pretty cool as well. So yeah, this movie does have a lot of good, thrilling action scenes. They're all well done. David Fincher, like I said, David Fincher's fantastic. He knows how to create action scenes and make them feel tense, suspense-ridden, and once our heroes escape, they have a chance to. They're still on the run, is still on the edge, and like I said, throughout this entire movie, Fincher just maintains that suspense-ridden cat and mouse atmosphere all the way up until the end. So yeah, those are just my general thoughts on the game. There's obviously a lot more to cover with this movie, but those are just the things that I thought made this movie really, really good. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna give the game a solid 8 out of 10. Beef up the Conrad role, change up the ending, and this thing could have been very, very close to a 10. But as it stands, I'm gonna give it an 8. The acting is fantastic. The story, for the most part, is very tightly written. The atmosphere is fantastic. David Fincher's sensibilities shine in this movie. The cinematography is gorgeous. Everyone puts in stellar performances. Michael Douglas, to me, in 1997, I think you could have made a legitimate case for this movie to give him a Best Actor award, because he is fantastic in this movie. I can't say enough good things about Michael Douglas in the game. So yeah, if you've seen the game, let me know in the comment sections below. Let me know what you thought about this movie. Did you like it? Did you hate it? I would like to know. If you have not seen this movie, go out and watch it and let me know what you thought about it. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.